What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with Astrodfs, and in today's video, I'm going over Week 3's main slate cash plays. So these are guys that are just getting ownership, project really good, or have some value. And man, do we have some value on this slate. Last week, it was, Mac Jones at 4K. Week 1, Daniel Jones was what, 51, 5,000, something like that. Really popped off. This week, we not have just one, right? We'll go down here. We don't just have one, but we have two 4K quarterbacks. We have Carson Wentz against Cincinnati. And then we go down just a little bit more, and we have Marcus Mariota against Vegas. So this slate is very weird, right? We have Jaden Daniels on the slate. No, we don't. He's out. We have Jalen Hurts. He's going against the Rams. All right. Joe Burrow's on this slate. He's also out. So we have Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield above 6,500, and then Jordan Love under 6,500. So we truly only have two expensive quarterbacks, and compared to what we've seen, this isn't expensive at all, right? This season it's been cheaper, honestly, but yeah, with the amount of quarterback injuries, we get a lot of value on this slate, which is good because there's a lot of good running back plays, some really good payups at wide receiver, and possibly a couple of good payups at tight end. So let's get into it. This is cash if you guys are looking for like the more tournament GPP. I will have that video going out later today, so check that one out. So let's get into it in starting off in the top range of cash, and that's 5,900 Dak Prescott against the Bears. Are on the road. One of the highest totals we've seen for a main slate game this season, if not the highest. But we get Dallas on the road against Chicago. Chicago just had Jalen Johnson ruled out. Kyler Gordon's ruled out. Edwards is ruled out. Dallas's defense, I mean, they add Jadeveon Clowney, but I mean, what true impact is he really going to make in the short time that he signed for a week? Man, as a Bears fan, it hurts me to say of how bad the Bears defense is, but it is very bad, right? Tyreek Stevenson, the only healthy corner the Bears have from last season that's a starter, is like statistically a bottom 5 corner in the league. So Dak Prescott, yes, I mean the potential for a 30-point performance out of Dak Prescott is there this week against the Bears. So definitely one of the cash plays. And in the same game, Caleb Williams for $300 cheaper at home against Dallas. And the reason being of why Caleb Williams is probably going to get more ownership than Dak. Caleb Williams does have the rushing upside rather than Dak, right? Dak's not a huge rusher. So for $300 cheaper and you get rushing, Caleb Williams does seem more of a value than Dak Prescott. So if you want to go that route, you can. Those two guys are definitely in that cash pool. And then we go a little bit cheaper to Drake May at 5,300 at home against Pittsburgh. This one's an interesting one. Pittsburgh's defense, I mean, if you're like me, you're like, man, Pittsburgh really, really did a lot to try to make their defense complete. And it's been the complete opposite, right? Pittsburgh's defense has been a bottom 5 defense. TJ Watt is not what TJ Watt has been. Their old corners are pretty much getting cooked consistently. We just saw Seattle put some big points up against them, as well as the Jets. So it's not like Pittsburgh's seen, very elite offenses. They've seen a Jets offense that, I mean, is going to have some highs, but they're probably going to be a bottom 10 offense this season. And then a Seattle offense, which, yeah, JSN, right? Torrey Horton got some points. Ken Walker got some points, but I mean, the pass game was still ugly. So now we get Drake May at home against Pittsburgh in that one. So that one also is in cash consideration. And then none of these guys, right? Even like Tyrod Taylor, I'd like to say, but if Tyrod was 4K, we could have that conversation. But like, I would prefer going all the way down, a little too far, sorry. Carson Wentz 4K against Cincinnati. I don't love this one, but we just saw Mac Jones kind of pay off at 4K. I mean, he really, really paid off at 4K last week. Now we get Carson Wentz at home against Cincy. The difficult thing about playing Carson Wentz on this slate that you have to realize is the running back that we're going to talk to about shortly is also on Minnesota, is very cheap, and it's very tough to play Carson Wentz and him without getting a pass catcher, without getting a Justin Jefferson, without getting a TJ Hawkinson. It's very tough to want to play Carson Wentz, a running back, and a wide receiver all in Minnesota. So that's the decision you're going to have to make. But fortunately, we do now have another good, cheap running back play. So let's get into the running backs. And yeah, we're going to talk about the top two names, Christian McCaffrey and Bijan Robinson. Christian McCaffrey at home against Arizona. Christian McCaffrey is just a volume machine for San Fran. Would watch the Juwan Jennings news. It could affect Ricky Pearsall as well as being a positive play, but Christian McCaffrey still is not getting adjusted in price for his performance. He's just getting a lot of volume. He will continue to get volume. That's how San Fran is a successful team, is utilizing a running back. That's how they've always been successful, is having a good running back or a good running back room where you could sub in multiple names. But Christian McCaffrey is just a bell cow for that team. Bijan Robinson for $300 cheaper. Yes, you're going to play one of the worst defenses in the league in Carolina. So with Carolina dealing with some offensive line injuries, this is a division game. We've seen these type of scenarios where Atlanta just utilizes Bijan. The concern with Bijan that you have to unfortunately take the consideration is Bijan is amazing elite talent, especially at the running back position, but that's not how Atlanta rolls. They use Tyler Algier quite a bit, so it's not like Bijan is a bell cow superstar like we see someone like Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey. Bijan is going to get snaps taken from him by Tyler Algier. And Tyler Algier, like if Tyler Algier was the starting back, like Bijan got hurt or Bijan wasn't there, like Tyler Algier would be another good name to have. He's not that elite talent that Bijan is, obviously, but he's a really good back for Atlanta. So that is the downside of playing someone like Bijan, but it should still be a positive script for Atlanta. So I really do like Bijan in that one. And then Jonathan Taylor. This is another guy that is just going, he's getting bell cow work at the running back position. Facing the Titans. Titans, I mean, they shut down Kyren Williams for like 3 3/4 quarters of that game. And then Kyren got some big plays out of that one. But Indy is doing what Indy does to be a successful team, and that is utilize the running back position. When they haven't utilized Jonathan Taylor and been successful using Jonathan Taylor, they haven't looked as good. In a division game on the road, yes, we could see some more pass catching upside in Jonathan Taylor in this one. Bucky Irving, I will say Bucky for tournament. Some people are considering for cash. I'll talk about him in the tournament one for sure. But we're just going to go down and we're going to get to the cheaper running backs now. Javonte Williams, 6,100. If you want leverage in this game, if you're like, man, I want to get a piece of the Dallas-Chicago game, I don't want to eat up all that ownership, right? Dak, Caleb Williams, Rome, DJ Moore, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Jake Ferguson, all these guys are going to be high-owned plays. Javonte Williams is one of the lower ownership players in this game. He's one to target if you want to find leverage, right? If you want to get different from the field, Javonte Williams. I've loved Javonte Williams. I've loved him since he got drafted. Unfortunately, got hurt, kind of spiraled his career. Didn't work out in Sean Payton's system, which everyone thought he would. Now we went to a Dallas team that was okay in the run, right, with Rico Dowdle last season. And Javonte Williams is just, I mean, the work he's gotten in the last 2 games, right? 15 carries, 18 carries, 3 targets, 7 targets against the Giants. This guy is the RB1 in Dallas. He's in a really good spot. His price point is still not adjusted. When you consider some of the other names that are up here, Javonte Williams is in a really good spot against the Bears defense, who has been terrible against the run this season. So Javonte Williams definitely on my radar. And then Ken Walker. This one has been very difficult. If you just look at his numbers alone, right? Week 1 against San Fran, 10 carries for 20 yards, gets a couple yards, right? 3 receptions for 4 yards against San Fran, but then plays Pittsburgh, and this guy just goes crazy. Zach Charbonnet outsnapped him. He got more work than Ken Walker, and Ken Walker was way more efficient than him. Now you're going against a Saints team that is also very bad against the run, especially the running back in multiple stats, but Ken Walker's in a great spot. Zach Charbonnet is now doubtful, so Ken Walker will probably emerge as, I'm not saying he's going to take all of the carries. That's not really how Seattle's been, but I would look for Ken Walker to get a lot of volume in this game. And then we're just going to go cheap, and we're going to go to 5,400 Jordan Mason. This is who I was talking about when you're making that decision. Do you want to pay $4K for Carson Wentz? You can. You could also play Jordan Mason, but you have to realize if you're picking Carson Wentz, it's you want to get a pass catcher. If you're depending on Carson Wentz to get successful, especially in your lineup, you want to have a Justin Jefferson or a TJ Hawkinson in, which means you're playing 3 Vikings players in that game. Jordan Mason is just, he's cheap. He's going to be a bell cow. He is going to get a majority, if not all of the work, right? He's probably not going to get all, but a majority of the work in Minnesota. He's a good pass catcher. We've seen what Minnesota's been able to do with running backs. We saw how Jordan Mason was used in San Fran last season. He was very good in San Fran's offense. So at 5,400 against a Bengals team that is bottom 5 against the running back so far this season, I definitely want to get Jordan Mason, who's going to be utilized a lot in that game. He's going to be probably one of the most higher owned plays on this slate. Moving on to the wide receiver position. CeeDee Lamb at 8K. Still too cheap in this matchup. Kyler Gordon ruled out. That is who CeeDee Lamb was going to face. Kyler Gordon was a good corner. Unfortunately, he has not played this season. So CeeDee Lamb is going to face the 4th, 5th string corner in Chicago. And they have not been good, right? We saw it last week. Bears defense got torched by Detroit. Now you're facing another pass-heavy team in Dallas. CeeDee Lamb in a fantastic spot at 8K. Puka Nacua, yet again, he is going to be mentioned almost every week until he starts getting above 8,000. But he's just getting a lot of volume. He will continue to get a lot of volume. Philly's defense can be scary to some. We just saw the Chiefs' defense, kind of scare you, right? Hollywood Brown didn't go off like people thought. Tyquan Thornton had a good game, but this is the Rams. We're talking Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams versus, Hollywood Brown, Tyquan Thornton, Juju Smith. There's a huge difference in that. So, Puka Nacua definitely has to be considered for cash. You go down a little cheaper. One of the names I won't mention, but I think I'm going to talk about him more in tournaments, but I will mention him quick because he's starting to get some more ownership depending on Ibuka status, is Mike Evans at 6,600, but I'll talk about him more in tournaments. JSN at 6,500. Facing a terrible Saints defense, right? You could see they're 8th in points to wide receivers, which is not good for JSN, but they are just so bad against the run that people don't have to pass against them. They're not a good defense. JSN is a target machine. He's getting a lot, right? Like 22 targets doesn't seem crazy, right? When we see Hollywood Brown get 16 targets in a game. But for how Seattle is passing the ball to wide receivers, this is a lot for Seattle's pass catchers. This is a lot. We're talking one of the highest, if not the highest, target shares for a wide receiver in the league. And he's surpassed 100 yards in both games. And he's gotten 20 plus DraftKings points in 2 games, right? 58, 6,000. Great play both weeks. He has not scored. He's gotten 20 points without a touchdown. So it's just not saying he's a touchdown-dependent guy. JSN going to continue to be one of those guys that just receives a lot of targets, is a good play every week, playing in the slot, which is always good. So JSN also in a really good spot this week. We continue to go down cheaper. George Pickens at 5,900. Yet again, I talked about CeeDee Lamb, how much of a good spot he's in. George Pickens is going to be lining up on the outside where Jalen Johnson was, but Jalen Johnson's now out for the season, unfortunately for me. And he'll be seeing Tyreek Stevenson, who is statistically one of the worst corners in the league. George Pickens, I mean, you could look at George Pickens last week, 17.8. He got 5 catches for 68 yards and a touchdown. It was a good game. He didn't smash, but 17.8 is not bad. He goes up 100 against the Bears. And if you watch that game against the Giants, I'm pretty sure there was 3 or 4 times where George Pickens would have had a big size play and there was a DPI called, right? He got thrown to the ground, he got pushed, he got held down. There was something in that game where George Pickens probably could have had easily 25 plus points in that one. But now he's in a really good spot again and only goes up $100 in price. Tet McMillan, the concern with Tet McMillan, a lot of people like him. He's the alpha for Carolina. He's going to be receiving the majority of targets in Carolina. Is Carolina's offensive line is really banged up, and we just saw Atlanta's defense just, I don't know. I don't know what to say what I saw for Atlanta's defense. But they got to the quarterback a lot. They got to J.J. McCarthy a lot last week, and now they're facing a Carolina offensive line that is extremely banged up. So that is my concern. But with that, you always have to take into consideration and why you likely always have ownership in Carolina. They should be down and losing every game, which means they're going to pass a lot. Sometimes it's going to be beneficial, like last week. Sometimes in week 1, it doesn't pay off. But Ted McMillan is going to receive quite a bit of targets. Now we go down to 5,600 Jacoby Myers against Washington. Jacoby Myers, yet again, he's a guy that is just going to be a target machine. We've seen him in the 2 weeks with Geno Smith, and we saw what Geno Smith was able to do in Seattle with DK Metcalf, with JSN, sometimes with Tyler Lockett. But Jacoby Myers has received 22 targets, right? We talked about that with JSN. You see JSN's price. Granted, JSN's gotten a lot more yards and a lot more DraftKings points. But when you consider 22 targets for both players, the difference of $900 is crazy. So Washington's defense, yet again, Dan Quinn defense, they're going to be good. But I think with the amount of targets that Jacoby Myers is going to consistently receive, he's going to be a good play. Sorry, I was trying to find him. Ricky Pearsall, $100 cheaper. This one, Ricky Pearsall will be a cash play for me if Juwan Jennings is out. That he is going to be the lone guy. We kind of saw it in week 1 when Juwan went down. Ricky Pearsall was the guy. 17.8 at 4,500 was a smash play. If you did play him instead of George Kittle, if you paired him up with CMC, I mean, you had a really good week 1 if you went that route. So he's also in a really good spot. And then we go down cheaper to the 2 Chicago wide receivers, right? This sounds like a lot of names in cash, but this is honestly, you could go a lot of different routes, but the Dallas-Chicago game is going to be a chalk cash play. Like, there's going to be a lot of ownership on these players. DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, 53, 5,400. Everything says to play Rome Odunze at 5,300 against Dallas, right? The 2 games so far this season, 9 targets week 1 against Minnesota, 11 targets last week against Detroit, and I mean, he just went nuclear against Detroit, 2 touchdowns, 128 yards, smashes, while DJ Moore, 5 targets, 6 targets, really, I mean, just didn't have an explosive game. This could be a game where we see DJ Moore utilized a little more. I think the emphasis on Dallas should be to cover or put a little more attention towards Rome Odunze. If this is a back and forth game, I would expect DJ Moore to be utilized a little more than we've seen. But like I said, everything says to play Rome Odunze. So if you're looking to get a little different, DJ Moore for $100 more, which is crazy to say, could be a good contrarian play, right? If you're looking to get leverage over Rome Odunze, just go with his teammate DJ Moore. Also, very cheap to stack Caleb Williams, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and CeeDee Lamb. To have a double Chicago stack with a run back, it is very cheap this week. It is very easy to do. Continue to go down. Keenan Allen's going to emerge as a chalk play. He is just, I mean, the 2 weeks went back down, right? They're playing Denver this week, which sounds scary, but the Colts just, I mean, the Colts weren't stopped against Denver. They legitimately were not stopped. They scored on every drive except one, and that's when they got the ball back with 20 seconds left before half. And now we're getting the Chargers team who's looked pretty damn efficient, and they get another division game. This is kind of crazy. The Chargers have 3 straight division games. 3 straight. Luckily, they're at home this week, so that's a benefit. But for the price point that Keenan Allen's gotten, kind of just the production he's gotten, a touchdown, 7 for 68, 5 for 61. He's smashing at his price point, and he goes back $100 after just having a 17.1 game against Vegas. So, granted, the thing you have to consider is they do his price point beforehand. So before that game goes live, his price is already in the system. So you're honestly getting him at a very cheap discounted price. So take that into consideration. Other than that, no one else stands out down here as a cash play. We'll talk about some more in tournaments. Going to the tight ends, I will mention Brock Bowers is in a really, really good spot against a defense that gives up a lot of fantasy points to tight ends. So Brock Bowers is a cash play. Trey McBride for his target share. I'm mentioning Trey McBride because he's projected the highest owned tight end. I don't have him as that. I hate playing tight ends against San Fran. There are going to be times where it pays off, but Trey McBride is one of the elite tight ends in the league. I just don't feel comfortable playing him as much against Fred Warner. Warner is just one of the best linebackers in today's game, so really hard to play him. Tucker Kraft, this one is going to be interesting if Tucker Kraft is out. And I'm not mentioning if Tucker Kraft is in. I'm mentioning if Tucker Kraft is out, we're going to get a very cheap Luke Musgrave. We'll talk about him when we get down to his price. Tyler Warren, for his target share, he has to be considered for cash, right? He's just going... he is the number 1, number 2 target, however you want to look at it, in Indy's pass game. It's pretty much him and Michael Pittman. We'll see Pierce get utilized. We'll see Downs get utilized some. Mitchell's gotten some, but Tyler Warren's pretty much been the guy, right? 2 pretty damn consistent games so far against Denver and Miami. Now he gets a Tennessee team. So, yet again, another good matchup for Tyler Warren. Jake Ferguson at 4K against Chicago. Yet again, you want to have some type of ownership. Even if this game doesn't go nuclear and doesn't go off, we're going to see some pretty good fantasy performances out of Dallas and Chicago. So Jake Ferguson, yet again, he's a good stack piece. If you want to go the Dak route and you want to lock in CeeDee Lamb, and George Pickens is just a little too expensive for you, Jake Ferguson at 4K, who also had a really good week last week, is in a good spot against the Bears. And I mentioned Edwards is out for the Bears, so one of the linebackers that would be covering Jake Ferguson is going to be out. So it's a good spot for him. Juwan Johnson, yet again, I can't believe, right? I don't think a lot of people, if anybody, would believe Juwan Johnson is one of the best fantasy tight ends this season, and he's got another great matchup against Seattle. Seattle is a bottom 3 defense against tight ends so far in fantasy points. It's 20 plus fantasy or DraftKings points allowed per game so far. 2 game sample size, so it's not saying, hey, we're like 8 games in the season, they're still doing this, right? It's kind of awkward to see that 20 plus a game to tight ends. So it'll eventually start going down. But Juwan Johnson, yet again, in a really good spot here against Seattle. And then we continue to go down. Fannin is going to just continue to get ownership. I don't like it. He's going up in price too much for me to really consider that. But he is worth mentioning. But we are going to go down to 2,700 Luke Musgrave now. If Tucker Kraft is out, Green Bay's utilized the tight end quite a damn bit. Tucker Kraft is, like, I would say pretty much the number 1 guy. Dobbs has had some good games. Eventually Jordan Love will connect with Matthew Golden. We don't know. Jaden Reed's injury. So with Reed out, Tucker Kraft could be out. Musgrave kind of seems like a really good cheap dart throw this week at 2,700. And then Adam Troutman, yet again, this is more of a tournament, but I have to mention just because of the injury, Adam Troutman at 2,700 is definitely interesting against the Chargers. They just have not been the best against tight ends, but I mean, you're also going to face Derwin James. But for the price point, I think it's a good punt option, especially if you're going to pay up 3,700 for the Packers defense, right? This is a tight end price, right? This is around the Juwan Johnson price that you're paying for the Packers defense. So if you want to kind of reverse the script and go the Luke Musgrave or the Troutman route for tight end, and then pay up for a Packers defense, pay up for a Seattle defense, pay up for a Buccaneers defense, that's how you do it, right? You're going to punt more at the tight end position and pay up at these defenses. So, yes, the Packers projected really good. Seattle projected really good. And if you're like me and you don't care about defenses, right? Like, if a defense goes off for 20 points, good for you. If they go off for 10 is still a really good number, good for you. But if I'm paying this price point here, I just need them to give me 3 or more points, and I'm satisfied. And what do we have this week for 3 or more points? At this price point. The Jets against Tampa Bay. This one is uglier. But with Tampa Bay's offensive line injuries, they do have a lot, the Jets could be a good play, right? They still have a lot of good defensive pieces there. I'm not saying this is a great play, but if you want a leverage over a team like Vegas against Washington, that's how you do it. Vegas is another team where I like at 2,300 against Washington, against Marcus Mariota, against Bill, against Deebo Samuel, against Terry McLaurin. I think Vegas is in a good spot against Marcus Mariota. So any of these defenses, even if you don't believe in Minnesota's offense, Cincy's defense is 2,400 against Carson Wentz. So There are some really, really good cheap plays this week at defense. That's why I mentioned some of those cheaper tight ends if you wanted to go that route in cash, right? If you wanted to pay down at defense, you could pay up at tight end. If you wanted to pay up at tight end, even go, the Trey McBride route, go the Brock Bowers route, the Tyler Warren. You could go the Jets, the Raiders, the Bengals defensively. If you wanted to go cheaper at tight end and pay up for one of these defenses, those are some of the names. So if you guys are interested in checking out my tournament plays, like I said, that video will be going out later. So check that one out. I will see you guys in the next one.